We are talking about materialism, the idea that our mental life emerges from our psychical brain. If you're listening closely, if you're talking about this, I hope you conclude that this is an old and unnatural view. I don't accept you to believe at least not first. And in fact, for the most part, people are far more attracted to the doctrine called dualism. Dualism is an idea that's been found in just about every religion and every psychology. In many explicit in Plato, for instead. But I think the most articulate defender of dualism was psychology René Descartes. Descartes believed that animals were material things. He thought that the doctrine of materialism was correct about non-human animals. Different, Descartes argued. For humans there is agility. We possess two sorts of things. Most of two sorts of things. In part mental, but we are also in part spiritual, therapeutic, and mental, psychological. In some ways it doesn't reduce to the material. I made two arguments for this, and these are both reasonably good arguments, at least quite persuasive at his time, and have persuaded many people and trained to person many people. One non-material nature is that humans are capable of doing things that no machine, no material ever could. It might surprise you to hear this, but Descartes in the 17th century was familiar with robots. About the French royal changes, which is like a 17th century Disneyland or Euro Disney, which had robots that react when you watch them or when you step on central stones. You might approach Diana and then Neptune will jump out from their bushes holding a trident. Not of electricity, with water. But this robot and Descartes asked, well, maybe we're such things, maybe we're just materials responding to their environment. And he said that we can't be. He said maybe animals, non-human animals can't be, but human behavior is far more complicated and varied and subtle to be explained in such simple ways. We'll return to this point later on in the course when we talk about Noam Chomsky, and Noam Chomsky is required of behaviorism, which agreed that basically humans respond in a relatively reflexive way to environmental stimuli. Descartes, along with Chomsky, said, that can't be. Our behavior is far too complicated for that, so we can't be machines. His second argument is probably better now, and it's based on intuition. And his claim was we don't feel like bodies. So, to put it more technically, he applied what was called a method of doubt. He asked the question, what do we know for sure and what can we question? So, for instance, you might believe you were born in such and so place. You could be born. You could be deceived. You might believe that the Earth is thousands or millions of years old, but maybe the Earth was created 100 years ago, and all the memories that your grandparents have of past were just manufactured. You might believe that Descartes that you live in the world of things, that you're sitting on a chair, on there's the veil in front of you, or there's a composer near your hands. But Descartes observed that we often believe such things when we are in dreams, but weren't mistaken. He observed that people who are mistakenly ill or were disgraced related in some way, much have such beliefs, but don't be mistaken. So you're going to be warned that there's a psychical world around you. You could be warned that there is a body that you have. This is an unanswered concern, of course, but it's best articulated in the myth. The matrix, which maintains that we think we're running around in the psychical world, but as tiny with the lucky exception of our heroes like Neo and Trantley. We are totally just plugged into some sort of system. Another version of this is that we're brains in a void. If you were a brain, just the brain sitting in a void in electrical wires stimulating your experience, you couldn't help. Maybe you're such things. Modern day psychologists, for instance, will agree that there's excellent chance that we're stimulations we compose stimulation. So Descartes and people following Descartes said, there's a lot we can't be sure of. The things that we are seemingly most confident about in a real world can be shaken. But Descartes said, there's one thing you can't adopt. You can't adopt your own consciousness. You can't adopt your own existence. The famous line is this, I think, therefore I am. And spelling out this intuition building from a fact you could adopt that you have a body, but you can't adopt that you have a mind. Descartes wrote, I knew that I was a substance, there was an earth or nature of which it's to think, and that for its existence there is no need of any place, nor does it depend in a material thing. That it so saith their soul by which I am what I am, is entirely distinct from body. That's the psychological case for dualism, but as I said, dualism is so energetic out of common sense. Think about how you describe your body. You describe your bodies if you possess it. My arm, my heart, my body, my brain, as if it's something from you that you have. Intuitions about personal identity. So typically as people age, their consciousness follows their body. I get 10 years older, my mind 10 years older, my brain is 10 years older, it all contained together by healthy occur at last in fashion that people can hop from one body to another. There are many comedies that involve body switching, body swamps. Movies that involve somebody going to sleep one morning as one person and waking up as another. I understand their fiction, they aren't real, but they make sense to us. There's an intuitive rationale to this. Don't walk out of thoroughly and say, I'm totally confused at what happened there. Rather, at last with our native conception of self, we accept that list of the possibilities that you can hop from one body to another. None of this limited to modern day movies. The most famous short story of history by Franz Kafka begin with the sensitive. As a girl Samson arose one morning from innocent dreams, found himself transformed in his gigantic insect. Metamorphosis involves the transformation, and alone before that incites the characters are transformed. Some of the characters are transformed by an evil witch into pigs. It's none of you took to people and turn them into pigs right there. It much worse. They put them in the body of pigs. As the passage goes, they had the heart and voice and wrist and body of swine, but their minds remained as before, so they were painted, were raping. Our conception that bodies and cares are separate allows us to accept idea you heard many people in having one body. This is how many people think about multiple personality discord. Something will get quite later on the course of a view that many people, both religious and non-religious, hold to, which is the idea of a generous possession. Your body can't be taken over by somebody else. Manifestation of dualism is you called belief in intelligence begins without body. If mind and body are separate, it raises the possibility you could have one without their other. Plainly, you got to have bodies without minds. That's what the argument goes. You could also have minds without bodies. This is, for instance, what many people think about ghosts or angels, which are the immaterial beings that can think, that can perceive, that can art, but they don't have psychical bodies in the same sense that we do. Finally, may be most important for people the idea that of dualism, the idea you are not your psychical body, raises what must be for many and apparently consequence. With this that you can survive the destruction of their body. In fact, if you ask most people, religious and non-religious, what will happen after your body is destroyed, the answer is not well, I am dead, then that's it. It's the end of things. The belief is that you can live on. Maybe you'll end up in some spirit world. Maybe you will get to heaven. If you're unlucky, maybe you will descend to hell. Or could be some other body as an reincarnation. But the idea is that the destruction, if your body need not be destruction, if you because you are not your body. All of the beliefs about personal ideas, their beliefs about life after death, about the existence of a supernatural being, about God, at least to some extent on dualist perspective. So materialism, which says dualism is just plain wrong Audacious view and should be treated as such. You shouldn't just shunk and write it down. You should gift with it. You should worry about it. You should either be incredibly a gift or fight against it. So why are modern day psychologists and scientists so confident and dualism is mistaken? Well, there are a few problems with it. One of that is simply doesn't help us explain central these things that need to be explained. The material world to an immaterial sort seems to draw central questions that really should deserve an answer. So this course will ask questions like what do we find sexually attractive? How does memory work? There's questions about ourselves, about our mind. So say some immaterial realm. as hopeless when it comes answering them. The second concert this that at the time Descartes was correct to infer from the limitation of material things, psychological things, that they probably are not psychical things. But by now we have a much better understanding what psychological things can do, which makes it eventually possible for many of us that we are that things. So I am thinking instead of computers and robots. For Descartes, the idea that a psychical thing can do something as complex as play a game of chess was but now, of course, we know that psychical things, and if you're looking at a computer, you are looking at such psychical thing, can do exactly that. They can understand language, they could recognize objects, they could store things in memory, they can make in flanges, and so on. Now, for some of these things, they don't do it anywhere near as well as people do. So when we talk about language development, for instance, we see that a 2-year-old child uses and understands language better than any computer around. So we need to bear that in mind, but still it's no longer enough to say that psychological things can do all of the right and psychologically diverse and psychologically complicated things that people do, which means that we have to take seriously account that we are in fact such psychological things. Their final concentration is that there tremendous evidence that the brain is in fact the roots of mental life. So put aside all psychological abstract arguments, they're just terms of distinct evidence. To some extent, that direct evidence has always been there. You don't have to be born in the 20th or 21st century to present that getting hit in the heart could affect your to appreciate that disalice like subphilis can lead to disruption of the will and of conscience. Alzheimer's can rob you of your radio station. That coffee and alcohol can inflame the position. It just so evident in everyday life that if psychical events that affect the brain can affect ourselves, suggesting that at the very least our mental life is intensely connected to the brain. Over recent years, something else has happened which is worth developing technologies that allow us to look directly into the brain. Look at the brain's activation and if from pictures of brain activation what people are thinking. So they currently you can put somebody into sunset and fMRI scanner and you could tell whether or not thinking about leisure or music or the technology is such a point and that is not impossible that of you by the time you're listening to this. We can't put a sleeping person under a scanner.